So I have something really, really, really exciting. And by the title of this video, you can probably guess what it is, but yes, I did get the Subculture palette. I haven't touched anything at all. Like, this is paper that comes inside. So this is what the palette looks like. I'm super excited to use this, and I wanted this to be a first impressions video. That way you can all see what I see as the time goes on. So I haven't used this at all yet, and I'm super excited. Now, I have watched and read a lot of reviews on the Subculture palette, and a lot of people have problems with streakiness, hitting pan, but a lot of people that hit pan, like, obsessively rub their brushes in the product, and I don't do that, so I'm not worried about hitting pan. However, there is a lot of kickback in this palette, just based on all of the videos I've watched. But one thing to understand, which Kristen Leanne, I'll link her video below when she reviewed the Subculture palette. Kristen Leanne explained that there's, this material that they put in with the pigments, and when you press them, that makes the pigments stick together so they can be in the pan for an eyeshadow. The less amount of that material that you put in the pigment, the more pigmented the eyeshadow will be. So if you put more of the material in it, the eyeshadow will be less pigmented, will stick more in the pan, so there will be less kickback, and it'll just be a shadow that you have to build more. So yeah, that's my little explanation on why there's so much kickback. So as you can tell, there's a lot of really cool tones. There are also some warm tones in here. My favorite color so far in this palette is probably Axis, but I'm a blue girl, so you could probably tell that would be one of my favorites. I really like this edge color and this new wave color, because I feel like they really aren't seen in palettes very often. And then I do like this Destiny color, because it's like a really muted green, a very muted olive green. I also liked Untamed, because it's just like a really cool toned green, which I'm into. So even though there are a lot of cool tones in this palette, which will be amazing for fall, it's not fall right now, and my best friend Haley was like, I really want you to do something summery. So with this palette, I'm going to do something summery and more warm. I'm really into halo eyes, so this is most likely going to be a halo eye. I'm also going to try out this brush. I have another Anastasia brush because I bought the Shadow Couture World Traveler palette, which I really, really liked. And this color Fudge, which is right here, is also in that palette, and I really, really liked that color. And Morocco, which is like a warm tone orange brown, so it's not as dark as Fudge, but it was a really good crease color, and I loved it for when I was doing like warm smoky eyes or warm looks in general. So like I said, I already have one. This is the one I have. This is the one that just came in the palette. If you look, the one that just came in the palette, which is this one, not only is it less used, but the brush is a little more dome shaped and it's wider. Is where this one's a little more tapered. And I really did like this brush, so I'm hoping that I will also like this brush. We will see. And for the other side, so this is the new one, and this is the one that I already have. So you can see the newer one has a little bit more denseness than the old one. I feel like, yeah, it's a little more flexible too, which you don't really see with brushes that are more dense. So yeah, those are pretty much the differences I see right off the bat. And it's also a little bit more of a thicker brush, I'll show you, which is probably why both sides are more dense than the older one. As you can tell, the older one's the one that's rubbing off. So I haven't done swatches yet, so I'm going to swatch right here on my arm for you right now. In the palette, I'm going to be going top row, left to right, and then bottom row left to right. I'm just going to swatch them on my arm and then I'll get back to you. There's Cube, there's Dawn, there's Destiny, Adorn, All-Star, Mercury, Access, Roxy, Electric, you can't really see Electric, but Fudge, New Wave, Untamed, Edge, and Rowdy. So those are all of the swatches, and I just kind of swirled my finger in it and then brushed on my arm. You have to remember that even though the swatch might be really nice, or if it doesn't swatch really nice, it doesn't really give it the reason whether it's going to blend nicely on the eye or be really pigmented on the eye. That's just a swatch so you can test the color and a little bit of the pigmentation, but it's not always going to be exactly the same as when you actually use it on your eye. So now that I've shown you the swatches and I've already primed my eyes and stuff, so let's get into it. So now that my look is complete, I will go into what I think about the Subculture palette. So I really like all the colors. I feel like the color choices were really nice considering there's a mix of like warm and cool tones, and there's a lot of colors that you can pair together that would be really cool combinations. I think that the shadows are lightly pressed, and if you're a very heavy-handed person or like to pick up a lot of product, you should A, not buy this palette, or B, if you do buy this palette, make sure that you use very light pressure when you pick up the product and just tap your brush in it instead of like scooping or swirling your brush in it, because it's really pigmented. Like I'll take my finger and I'll just tap this color right there. I just tapped it and look how much product is on my finger. Like, it's a lot of product. So that just goes to show that you really don't need a lot. Also, I think if you are one to not really experiment with colors very much and aren't really interested in things that aren't neutral or things that aren't your typical warm palette or your typical cool palette, I wouldn't buy this palette. However, if you're into doing colorful stuff, if you're into things that are out of the box, I would recommend this palette. I feel like it's a very good palette for fall time, especially with the different colors in here and the color combinations you could choose. Also, really like the packaging. I think it's super cute. I love the velvety feel. I like how it's darker than the Modern Renaissance palette, so you won't get it's super dirty really easily. I also really like the mirror. I feel like the mirror is really nice and clear. You can see some fingerprints on there, but it's a really nice mirror. I really like the brush. I feel like the brush is really, you can really pack color on with the dense side, and then with the fluffy side you can blend out really nicely. I think the formula is really nice. It does give a lot of kickback, but if you use that to your advantage, so you pick up the kickback instead of just letting it fly all over the place, I feel like that's more beneficial. I also think that the colors are really blendable. Sometimes they don't blend out as well as you expect them to with certain brushes, so I think if you're having trouble, blending out with a certain color, that you should use a different brush with that color. All in all, I really like this palette. I love it. I enjoy it. I'm probably going to use this a shit ton in the fall and maybe even in the summer. So yeah, I would probably rate this palette like an 8 out of 10 because there's a lot of kickback, which takes a point away from me, and it doesn't blend with some brushes, so that's a takeaway from me. But super pigmented, blendable, beautiful, great color combination, great packaging, good brush. So I really enjoy this palette. I would recommend it if you like color, you like to play around with something different and create looks that are out of the box. So yeah, I really recommend this palette. So if you like this type of video, which is like first impression review and a look, let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share, comment, do your thing. Alright, so I'll see you all on my next video, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye!